Good evening and welcome to the May 23rd regular meeting of the Novi Community School District Board of Education. Thank you all for being here with us tonight. I would appreciate a roll call from you if you wouldn't mind, Mr. Mena.
Sure. Trustee Cook is absent. Trustee Hood.
Here.
Trustee Mena is here. Trustee Murphy.
Here.
Trustee Roney.
Here.
Trustee Ruskin, I think, is out. Trustee Smith.
Here.
All right, terrific. If you join me, please, in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The first item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. I would entertain a motion. We don't have any changes, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Hood.
I move that we accept the agenda as presented.
Support.
It's been moved by Mrs. Hood and supported by Mr. Smith. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. First item on our agenda is our student board member report.
All right. Hi, my name is Lauren. I was a senior, I guess now, technically still am, and I am the class 2019 vice president. And so in academic news, the senior honors convocation for the class of 2019 will be held on Wednesday, May 29th, 2019 in the auditorium. The doors will open at 5:45 and the event will begin promptly at 6:30. In teacher and student activities, congratulations to Jennifer Kerbrat, who was awarded the Outstanding Career Development Practitioner of Oakland County. Congratulations to Brian Gordon, who has been selected by the MHSAA Representative Council to be one of the 4 2019-20 recipients of the Alan W. Bush Award. Congratulations to Jamie Fu and Amanda Squires, who were recognized as district winners of the SEPAC Above and Beyond Award, and to the following nominees: Jeff Burnside, Matt Dickerman, Jody Miankowitz, Amanda Pudi, Danielle Rachu, Andrew Sari, and the Novi High School varsity football team. The Senior Wildcat Walk was this afternoon, actually, May 23rd, and we all went back to our elementary schools and got to walk around and see all our old teachers. In athletics, congratulations to Cece Stack, who qualified for state meet in discus and shot put. And congratulations to Miles Brown, Blake Madej, Matthew Gustitis, Matthew White, Brian Yu, Brendan Ireland, Vincent Ma, and Nisar Daria, all who qualified for state meet in a variety of events. Good luck to the boys and girls varsity track teams competing in the Oakland County Championships. And congratulations to the girls varsity tennis team who finished second at regionals. Good luck at states.
Fantastic. Lots of congratulations.
Yes.
Those are
Lots of
going to
awards.
keep coming for a while, aren't they? As we go through the graduation season. That's
Yes.
fantastic. So we know what that means for our track people, that they will be running into graduation late.
Yes.
Most likely, right?
Most likely.
So that's the same night. So
Same night. The state meet is the same day as our
Always happens.
district baseball and softball.
baseball.
Oh, is it really?
Yes.
Oh,
You'll notice from
There's their softball uniform.
yeah, sometimes they come in their cleats and
Right.
stuff. So it's always kind of fun. You can always tell who they are in there. So anyways, well, we do thank you for coming.
Yes,
I know that you left work to be here, though, so you know what? We're going to let you go if you would like.
Thank
And
you so
thank you
much.
again for being a part of the board, and if you will share with your fellow class president people,
Yes.
your class officers,
Yes.
that we really appreciate the time that they to be here and inform us of what's
All right.
going on.
Will do.
All right,
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
again for coming.
Good job.
I'm
Congratulations.
gonna go back
Yeah.
to work.
Go back to your real job. Okay, fantastic.
Have a good night.
Bye.
You too. Okay, the first item, or well, the next item on our agenda is our report to the board. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. Tonight, honoring the request of the board for an energy utilization report, Rob Bernardi, President of Executive Energy Services, will present on the district's energy consumption and efficiency. We would invite Mr. Bernardi up to the podium to introduce himself and to give his report.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for being here today. My name is Rob Bernardi. I'm President of Executive Energy Services. I'm a former Consumers Energy employee, got 20-plus years in the industry. And we do energy procurement. We do rate analysis for schools and public schools. We do energy efficiency auditing. We help with rebates. And we do assemblies for the kids. So try and have a little bit of fun with all this technology going around today. So I was asked to come in today, and I appreciate that because this is only my 5th time in front of the board relative to energy. A lot of districts, administrative staff take charge of it, but I appreciate the opportunity because I think it shows that you guys are making efforts to keep track of things and put forth a leg towards energy efficiency. So we hear a lot about it today, and with energy rates actually climbing, with renewable energies taking precedent now, we're probably going to see energy prices go up. We're at the lowest point in probably 20 years in terms of natural gas purchases. And luckily, natural gas is driving electricity rates right now, but that is going to change. So I'll talk a little bit about that within our report.
Great.
So the first thing I want to bring to the table is we've been purchasing energy for schools for about 20 years, and I've been with my own company for about 16. So we started developing tracking mechanisms about 7 years ago. And we found that really helped schools understand, it helped us with budgeting. So we took the effort to implement that here about 4 years ago. And it's called Utility Pro. It's an energy information data system. It allows us to look at site-specific information. It allows us to forecast and budget for the district. And so we started developing and put that in there. So it works with our retail commodity management program. This program is procurement where we analyze the markets, we analyze utility rates, we participate, actually my company participates in rate cases in Lansing. We're currently participating in DTE's rate case that was for electric. We have gas rate cases that we testified on. And right now they're looking at an IRP, which is a resource plan for the utilities. It's called an integrated resource plan. So the utilities are planning on what they're going to do for the next 5 to 10 years with their electric generation fleet. As I've heard or read that they're going to be closing their coal-fired plants. So this is part of what we do behind the scenes within our retail commodity management program. Our energy driver is kind of a backroom analysis of buildings and facilities information. It is facilities walkthroughs in certain cases for customers in educational programs, as well as commercial industrial customers, where we actually come in and bring engineers in and audit the buildings. So we do those things, and we participate with performance contracting and also design build projects where we get asked to come in to analyze how the building's using power and how the power is being purchased before they do projects. Peak load contribution is it's not new to the industry, but it's new to the retail purchaser. Detroit Edison is your electric company. They now assign a peak load contribution. So basically what that is, it's a demand charge that's set for every meter the district owns. So what we've been telling customers and why I'm here today is I've been talking with your team to start being progressive on how you're running your buildings because it's going to dramatically affect your prices going forward. So in your contracts, which I'll show in a minute, we have to buy out 4 years. It's a forward capacity purchase. So we've got that first 4 years purchase, but when we have to roll the next year, every 4 years we add a year or maybe add a 2 year, prices are good. They look at this peak load contribution. So we need to control that today so it doesn't cost you money down the road. Demand management is something your staff is doing very well. They are cycling equipment. You guys got some projects that you have done with some other team members here, and you guys are utilizing your control systems very well. What I'm seeing in some of the numbers is there might be some room for improvement at some buildings, and then because how we're purchasing power differently, we might want to run the buildings a little differently. So all this has really come to fruition in the last 18 months after the law was passed in December 2016. Now we know how the law is working, how we're going to implement the law, and how it's going to affect your buildings and how we purchase energy. Well, lastly is the Energy Star management. We found some information out about 45 days ago that there is money in Lansing to certify buildings. Those are the top 5-10% of facilities in the state. It's not easy to do, but you might have some buildings that are close. So what we'd like to do is advance the district further, put your information into what's called Energy Star Portfolio Manager. It weather normalizes the data. It allows you to find out where you're at and benchmark you to other facilities across the state. And if you can reach a certain goal, you can certify your buildings and show the community that you're being proactive in how you manage your buildings. Energy data management, this is our energy information system. So we perform budgeting. I provide an annual report to your staff. They can look at forward budgeting, the utility tracking and validation. Benchmarking is key. So I have your facilities benchmarked against each other. And once we move the programs forward, I'm going to be benchmarking those buildings to other, we have 52 other public schools that we work with. We have 32 of them in the system. So you're doing fairly well. You're just below average, which is good for a district of this size. So we're going to dig into those details over the next year and progress and try and improve. The site-specific analysis, I'll work with your staff. We'll identify things on paper, and they can choose to take that and run with it. They can bring someone in to help them, or I can come in and help them, and we'll, again, progress and improve. So here's your historical energy spend. I work in descending order from 2018, 17, 16, and 15. So you're at $1,405,120. What I want to make sure everybody understands here is that you added Bosco, ECEC, you added some load, you added some air conditioning, you've got new technology. So don't let the increase in budget scare you, because there's a lot involved in that number. Because looking at your number in terms of BTUs and energy use, you're doing well. But we've got increased costs. DTE raised their distribution rates over 20% just in the last 18 months, and it's going up again. Consumers Energy raised their gas distribution rates by about 10%, and you added square footage, quite a bit actually. You added enough square footage in the district to be a whole new elementary school. Okay. This is electric. So you're on the electric choice program, which is a huge benefit for the district. There's only 10% allowed by the law that was passed in 2008. We've been fighting to change that because we believe it's a good program and competitive for the whole state. But right now, you're lucky of maybe 230 of the 560 some odd school districts in the state, public schools, that are in this program. So if you were not in this program, you'd be paying almost $280,000 more per year for your electricity. Okay? These are the pricing of the contracts. Your current price is a little bit lower than these because the cost of capacity. Cost of capacity actually went up an extraordinary number, like 350%. But capacity is only 20% of your total cost of energy, okay? That's the resources that they need, the utilities or the independent power producers need to produce the energy to meet our maximum load during a peak day. The benefit here, and some of the things that we're going to talk about, is the peak load for the state of Michigan and Detroit Edison is in July and August.
Yeah.
You guys shouldn't have any children in the buildings in July and August. So the benefit is that we might be able to work together and continue to improve and have better shutdowns and utilize the building structurally with the community so you're not maximizing peak demands during the state's peak. Your peak is in September, and it's really hard to get down. Kids are in, you have hot days, there's nothing you can do when you're coming into a 95-degree day, you know. So we can look at specific things that are non-essential to buildings operations, and maybe we can tweak those a little. But again, you're doing fairly well. So I don't want to say that we're going to be hitting home runs during September, but maybe there's some things we can do. So the surprising thing is I've kept your power pricing, which is an increase. It's up about 12% from the first few years I purchased power for you. However, I was able to keep it flat all the way out to 2024. And I tried to ask some lawmakers, because I testified for 2 years prior to 2016. And I told them, I can buy power and I'm willing to buy capacity for 10 years if you'll allow me to. Don't close electric choice. I've asked some of the same lawmakers about this. So what did you think when all the suppliers, the third-party suppliers for electric choice, were able to obtain that 4-year capacity? Oh, well, you know, who would know at the time? Well, what I'm telling you is that we've structured this program so well that I knew we could get this 4-year capacity. And when customers or the representatives testifying in the new law asked me, I said, yeah, no problem. And I knew I got a 100% closure rate on my customers. When I asked my customers, can I go out 4 years, everyone said yes. So it's a tremendous program, and there was misleading or misguided lawmakers when they tried to look at how we're buying capacity and how far out we could go. Because just looking at your contract prices, they're almost flat. So that's a good thing. Natural gas, here we are with the gas savings. It's not as large, but those are distribution savings. If you were not purchasing gas on an open market through the transportation program, you would pay almost $15,000 more just for distribution charges. The other thing we've benefited here, with a little luck, and a little skill, we've been able to buy your gas cheaper on forward basis. And I hedge, and I watch, and I hedge, and I try and layer pricing. So one, you don't hit those peaks and valleys. Just this year, in January, prices went to $8 on the open market. I put in here a November average. You paid $3.29. Okay, the utilities price is $3.14 right now, but we predicted that based on demand and supply and transportation issues, we got down to $2.73, and we locked that contract out to 2022. Okay, so in the utilities prices, if you see your bills at home, you'll see your prices go down during the off-peak months, and you'll look at the winter bills and they go up. The utilities have to have so much gas in the ground, so they do forward hedging, but when it's cold, they go to the market, and that gets spread out to all the ratepayers. So I couldn't be any happier with this price structure. I hope you are as well, and you're going to see your gas budget just fall. What we need to be prepared for is I'm going to try and layer in out in 2023, 2024, try and stay ahead of this before we see a demand shift in the marketplace. But to stay at these numbers, we would have to have a tremendous amount of transportation improvement to get the cheap shale gas out in Pittsburgh and other states to here in the Michigan market. Okay. What we did here for you, because there's been such a change in the square footage and some of the projects that were done, we pulled some data from our system and adjusted it based on the square footages that the district had given me to try and capture real data on a year-over-year basis, because our system had the same square footage in it. So what I wanted to show you is that taking out Bosco and the other districts later on in the presentation, you're doing pretty well. You're holding steady, even though you've added square footage and you've made a lot of changes, so that's a good thing. So what we're showing you here is the square footage, total utility cost, and a driver for us is utility cost per square foot. Just back 4 or 5 years ago, high schools were at $2, elementary schools were at $1.50, and a lot of that is driven by price. But you'll see improvement on your end as we go down to descending years of 2016, where you have improved energy efficiency. So that is columns, the last 4 columns, total energy MMBTUs, total energy MMBTUs per square foot, and we converted into kBTUs and kPTUs per square foot so we can compare to Energy Star. Okay? This data isn't weather normalized, but I'm going to talk a little bit about that a little bit later. So a total cost per square foot for a district under $1 is really good. You're doing fairly well. It's a good price to compare, and you have a lot of populace here. You do a lot of community activities, and those are things to be aware of. The more you use your buildings, the more energy you're going to use. Okay? The last part there, the 76 kBTUs, that is pretty good as well, and you're just below the average of the districts that we have. 2017, we adjusted the square footage based on current projects at the time, and we are at 97 and 74, so that's good. 2016, you have 71 and 80, and that is the cheapest electric price I've ever had run. So that this fiscal year landed in a very cheap electric price, as well as the heating and cooling degree days, I think affected these numbers. So you stayed similar at 71, but your average cost per square foot was way down at 80.5. And then 2015, you can see, I think shortly around this time frame, or shortly after this, is when you finish some of the projects. So you have quite a bit higher kBTUs per square foot, although your average dollars per square foot is 92. So it's fairly close. But that was because, again, we had a very good electric rate, the capacity prices were 300% cheaper, so on and so forth. So, but it shows you're proving energy efficiency. So, and I always want you to remember, prices will go up and down, but by not using that MMBTU, you save, $5 on gas, and you save 8.1 cents per kilowatt hour for every unit you do not use. So, energy efficiency is the best way to go. So this is your kilowatt hours. So you can see the increase in kilowatt hours. Some of that is cooling degree days. Believe it or not, some of it is heating degree days. You don't correlate heating degree days with electricity normally, but when it's 10 degrees out and you guys are running systems and trying to keep pipes from freezing with older buildings and things like that, you're turning kilowatt hours. You are running machines to keep things warm. So it does affect it a little bit. And then your square footage. These numbers have the jump with EC, and Bosco, so that affects it. Natural gas is the same. 2015 was the end of the Arctic blast. So if you remove, again, heating degree days, your usage has been, you saw a decrease in usage because of energy efficiency, and it's creeped up a little bit with temperatures in 2018 were a little bit colder than 17 and 16. Okay. This is total energy. We convert the kilowatt hours to MMBTUs. So you can see you're doing, even after the Arctic blast here in 112, you jump down really low after that, and I would say 50% of that is energy efficiency, because it started getting cold again here in 2018. So this is an example, really. It is your data, but I wanted to show you some anomalies that we see, and also how we would like to expand and get into Energy Star Portfolio Manager and advance this a little bit so we can really get into the numbers by weather correcting things. So the first column is just your base year 2016 kilowatt hour usage, and then I've got heating degree days, cooling degree days for 2016, and then we got 2017-18 kilowatt hours, and then heating and cooling degree days. So what we're looking at is some energy comparisons. So one of the anomalies I see is that the cooling degree days in August of 15 were much higher than the cooling degree days in 2018. So to me, your usage went up, but the cooling degree days went down. So something to look at. Doesn't mean it was bad, but what it means is there might be an opportunity there for a summer shutdown process here at the district. If you look at, September, it went down 2.8 and cooling degree days went down. So it makes sense that it went down. It's something we can follow, but you can see October being higher in 2015 than it was in September. And that's curious, yes.
I'm sorry. Do you mind if we interrupt you for
No,
questions?
sure.
Just question about the cooling degree days and
Yeah.
the heating degree days. So obviously they're not 232 days in July.
No.
So what's the measurement on
Yes,
that?
all right, so Energy Star and the standard in the industry is 65 degrees. So you take the high in a day and the low in a day, calculate, divide that by 2, and then the variance between 65 degrees,
Okay.
okay? And then you do it for 30 days, and then we use the heating and cooling needs for 30 days, and then we do it every month, and then it comes into a year analysis.
Okay, thank you.
So 65 is usually the base. So you could see your usage was up 2.17%, and the cooling degree days was up 6%. So that does show potential for good energy efficiency. Your usage didn't go up the same percentages of cooling degree days. So that could show something good. But we're not going to dive into the details, and I haven't dived into the details. This is something we want to slowly progress with you and see where the district's interests are and to continue improving. And we'll go from there, and we'll dig in more to the numbers. But right now, I see some anomalies here. I would be comfortable in saying we could save 2%, 3% by just implementing a couple of programs that won't take too much staff time or too much engineering time or anything like that. So that might be exciting to do, and if you're interested. So, next steps, I'd like to implement peak load contribution with your team. Again, I think it's looking at the numbers, working on controls, see if we can discuss things on how you're operating the buildings with and without the community. The community is important, I understand that. So, but maybe we can schedule buildings just slightly different that won't have an impact to community, but it'll help save money. Demand management, you're doing it. We're just going to add some advice or maybe some skill set we have to help your team improve on that. Energy Star Portfolio Manager, we'll discuss with your staff and how we want to implement it. And it's basically man hours, data in, data out, and then get the information to me and your team, and we'll figure out where there's things to improve. Operational parameters. We develop energy policies for districts. If you don't have an energy policy here, I'd be glad to help you do that. Investigating retrocommissioning. Retrocommissioning actually is a program where there are rebates from the utilities, where if you want to do some retrocommissioning, there's parameters that are very welcoming to public schools. You only have to spend so much money, and you only have to do projects that have a payback of less than 1.8 years. So if there's any low-hanging fruit out there, we can get it looked at. They'll commission it. They'll approve it. They'll do an analysis on savings, and you only might have to spend, say, $50,000, but you'll get a payback within 18 months. So I think it's a fantastic program for the public schools. And then reach the next level of energy efficiency. So I'm just here to help and drive. So expected results, we want to lower your demand. No matter how we do it, find a way. You need to lower your demand so you'll pay less for energy. If energy prices go up to 7 cents, you're not going to save any money on electric choice, and then utilities win.
Yeah.
So we want to play by their game. We want to run your buildings efficiently, lower your demand, and then I can continue to buy power on the forward curve that will save you money versus the utility. Improve control. Just control is every day. Your team is doing it. Your staff works hard to make sure people are warm and cold throughout the year, and they just have to stay on. And it spends money well if you want to spend money on control systems today. Today's technology, you can track everything. You can track CO2 now, so you don't have to bring in as much fresh air. And there's a lot of laws and rules about fresh air today. And your staff every day has to keep an eye on those things, so it's important. And reduce operational costs. That's it for me. Any questions? I'd be glad to answer them.
Board members, go ahead, Ms.
I have a
Burnett.
couple questions. Mr. Bernardi, can you speak to the return on investment that we've realized with the partnership with your organization, even just at a high level?
Oh, man. It's probably 300%, 400%. Yeah.
But it's over 100%, you're saying.
Oh, sure.
So all of the investment we're making in the organization is basically coming back to us 2, 3, 4 is what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, I never had to do that because it's my fees are a 1/8 of what your savings are. So yeah.
Any other question I have is for you, Dr. Matthews. Mr. Bernardi mentions a few, maybe 5 or 6 action items here that may be able to save the district additional monies, additional expenses on energy. Is this something that we're seriously looking at and somebody taking lead on possibly?
I will turn to Ms. Minnick. I know that she and Mr. Dragoo have conversations like this on an ongoing basis, and so I will let her answer that question.
Yes. Mike Dragoo and I have met recently with Mr. Bernardi to talk about those new programs that they have available. And so we have started to have those discussions to see what the potential is for energy use reduction and energy cost reduction as well.
Right. Well, we'll look forward to you keeping us posted on where things are at with that. That's fantastic. Okay. Other questions?
May I add?
Sure.
Mr. Bernardi spoke quite a bit about the temperature controls and monitoring when different machinery is running, what have you, and Mike Dragoo works closely with Mr. Bernardi on that, and Mike does an excellent job of watching those temperature controls and monitoring those so that we do have very efficient use of consumption of energy for sure.
You know, I do have one other question. So we've been making some investment on LED lighting within the district.
Mm-hmm.
Have we seen significant savings in that area, especially, for example, at some of the stadiums that we have?
It appears. So in the numbers, you'll see your kBTUs or your MMBTUs per square foot went from 80 something down to the 70s. So that is part of that. Yes. You know, without metering, you know, we can meter your electrical panels and really dive into that. But LED projects, 95% of the time, save money. And so I'm not concerned that you didn't save money, but it does look like you are.
Okay. Right.
I just had a kind of a perspective question. First, a comment. I have greater appreciation, I think, for our staff after listening to all of this. If we've got it on, if we're doing it well, then good for us. But I did have a question, and maybe it goes back to Mr. Mena's clarification on the partnership. So if we've had this, if I have been through this presentation before, I slept through it, and I apologize.
You have not.
Okay. Okay, good. Thank you. So on the 2 pages that you include savings amounts, so gas savings of $14,600, and then electrical savings of $279,000, so roughly $300,000. So those are savings, and then if we apply that to the spend in 2018, which is 1.4 million, assuming before savings it's 1.7 million, I equate that to about 18% savings. Is that
Yes.
that an accurate way or a good perspective way to look at this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you are saving. The rate codes are different, especially electricity is really difficult. You have secondary meters that don't save as much, and then you have the primary meters, which like the high school, the middle school, they're saving 26%.
And then let me
Yeah,
ask,
so-
I'm sorry.
Yes.
And then let me ask you a follow-up. When you say savings, what is the savings? How do you estimate the before and after? Is it through rate reduction? Is it through efficiencies? And how do we measure those?
These numbers are procurement savings only, calculated based on, there's rate codes that you would be if you were buying your energy directly from the utility. There's rate codes, like on gas, it's GS1, GS2, GS3. You're on the ST1 transportation. So you get a discounted distribution rate because you're a bulk purchaser. So if you did nothing and you just bought gas from the utility at whatever rate they charge you, you would pay that $15,000 more a year.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions, Mr. Smith?
I just want to make sure I've got it because I don't remember seeing a presentation like this either. You did mention right towards the end that if we implemented a number of suggestions that you have, that our cost might be give or take $50,000.
Your cost?
You said to implement these things. No, I thought I heard you say to implement these things would cost. You might have to spend about $50,000.
Oh yeah, that's for the commissioning program that the utilities offer right now. So the utilities.
Is that just for the commissioning program?
That's just only commissioning, yes. So right now what it is there's a rebate program that you pay on your bill. So on your bill, there's an energy optimization surcharge on your bill. Every ratepayer in the state pays it. You can apply for rebates, which I think the district might have done a few with your projects. Okay, so that's fantastic. They told me you did that, great, because there's a lot of people out there that are replacing things and they don't know they can get rebates. So your staff was aware of that and you got some. That's good. So this is a part of that program. So you pay into it on your bill, so let's use it. So if they come in and they do an analysis and they say, okay, you fit the mold, we'll accept you in the program, they're gonna pick the buildings that fit. Now, not all your buildings will fit. Typically, it's the larger buildings, so the high schools and middle schools. They'll bring an engineer in, they'll do a walkthrough, they'll say, yep, we think we can do these programs. You sign on to it, and then they come in and do more specific engineering, and you have to spend up to X amount of dollars. But you only have to spend those dollars to implement these savings, these commission programs, if it's a certain payback or less.
Okay. Please do me a favor and climb up to about 30,000
Okay.
feet on this one.
All right.
Your company is a for-profit company,
Mine is, yes.
and we partner with you
Yes.
because you are like a ninja shopper and you know how to get the best discounts from the different energy companies.
Something like that.
Okay. So all I'm asking is that in one of your last slides, you suggested that we implement this and implement this and that all had trademark next to it. So I'm assuming those are programs that your companies come up with that are unique to your firm. What is that going to cost to implement that?
All right, so we've discussed it a little bit. It's about staffing to do the portfolio manager. I'm thinking something under $3,000 a year, I can do that. And it's just about time, taking your information, loading it into Energy Star Report, and then managing that program for you.
Again, I'm just looking for an all-in number.
Okay, and then the PLC management program, about $9,000.
Okay.
And the return on those two, I think, will be 30 to 40,000, maybe 50,000 if we hit a home run. And that's annual savings.
So is this something that at this point, Jill, you guys would analyze
Yes.
kind of the best bang for the buck, and then that would
Yes.
either be built into our budget that we would approve for the next year or whatever. So if there's things that you don't think we should do, you would also let us know that, or we'd work in that direction. Is that accurate?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that kind of?
Sure, I'll let you guys do the legwork. It seems to me if we get an 8 times return
Yeah.
on whatever we spend, we'd spend as much as we could afford with Mr. Bernardi.
So,
You guarantee that?
I would say, I wish I could.
I can't guarantee it either, but so far it's been great.
Okay, that is very educational. Thank you very much, Mr. Bernardi.
Okay. Are there other questions the board has? Well, we thank you for being here. Thank you for the very thorough presentation, and also just kind of the, I don't want to say kudos, but just the fact, knowing that we're doing fairly well relative to other districts, I think is encouraging. I know that we've worked really hard since I've been on the board. I know we had, it was actually before you joined us, we did have an energy consultant that worked with us a little bit too, and because we were spending, we were at a higher rate of spend, let me put it that way. So the fact that we've become more conscious of it, I know that Mr. DeVue sends notes out to the staff about turning their computers off before breaks and all that kind of stuff, and it's become a culture that I think has expanded. So thanks to our business office and our staff that are cognizant of that and have made steps to improve our energy conservation. And thank you for being here to let us know that.
You should be very pleased. I think your district's doing well, and I guess I'm here to say, let's keep doing well.
Yeah.
And things are changing in the energy industry, and we want to stay on top.
Yeah, that is interesting, some of the information about that, so.
Mike Giroux is very conscientious about utility savings, for sure.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, well, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much.
All right, the next item on our agenda is the 2014 Bond Project Summary Report. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. In 2014, the Novi community approved a $70,900,000 bond issue with a total project budget of $75,500,000, which provided for security and technology, a new early childhood education center, classroom additions, facilities improvements, athletic sites and parking lots, roofs, furniture, and buses. We're grateful for the support of our community And tonight, Mr. Greg Van Kirk of Plant Moran Cressel will present a summary of the 2014 bond projects. Mr. Van Kirk.
And as you're going up to the board, I'll just say, I think we approved our last piece of that at the last meeting, right? Oh,
The
Jill.
majority of it, yes.
But, yeah, so this
Our
is a
projects
good
have
time
been-
to say thank you to those who helped us get to that point, and I'll let you take it away now that you're at the podium. Thanks for
Great.
being here.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure, and Dr. Matthews asked me to kind of give a high-level overview of the 2014 bond issue, what it was about, and what a great success it was. So a couple quick things about us, PMC, we were owner's rep. It's almost eerie, the person you had in front of us, we're your ninja buyer, overseer, owner's rep, that group that helped you with your last bond program and make it efficient, and it's all related, instead of energy consumption, it's energy construction. And so that's a large portion of what the bond was, and you'll find it interesting. I'm going to walk you through the actual bond campaign material that we ran as an informational campaign, just to remind everyone what that bond issue was. Then we'll go through what we did, and then, as you said, Ms. Murphy, some of the last steps, what we're doing as we kind of come to a cruise control closeout. So high level, you'll find the cute symbol in between the NOVI, it's sustaining excellence. This bond program in 2014 was all about sustaining excellence. It was all about infrastructure. It was about the energy. We knew we were adding classrooms. We knew we were adding energy control systems. We were putting in LED lighting, and some of the things that we were doing in terms of sustaining excellence, preserving the infrastructure, sustaining, low class sizes was a major thing. So we did lots and lots of additions, and we'll get into that in a moment. The early childhood, obviously, we did try to enhance as much as we could on athletics and the fine arts, replacing equipment, staying ahead of technology, and then, of course, always safety and security is a major issue. So the whole idea was really to sustain excellence. It had been a while since the last bond issue that you put any kind of infrastructure programs into it. The bond issue prior to 2014 and 2007 was really technology geared. And so this one, while it had a fair amount of technology in it, it was infrastructure technology. It was bandwidth, things of that nature. I can attest of having kids going through the school. I still have one here, and when they're trying to turn in a paper or they're walking the hallways, things of that nature with their systems, we put that kind of bandwidth or that infrastructure in. We also did the roofs, the parking lots, what I call not a lot of the glamorous type of projects, but good projects and worthy projects, because I think you're seeing some of the results by the presentation that preceded me. So I want to touch upon what it was. The great thing is it touched every school, it impacted every student, and it preserved home values, and that's all important to all of us. The bond amount was just shy of $71 million, and we included some sinking fund dollars, and we included some recreational millage dollars that helped contribute to the track, the field, the turf, things of that nature. And so overall, here's the scope of the work, and I'll go through it high level: the technology, the computers, the wireless networks, the phone system, the surveillance, things of that nature. The classroom additions was an obvious one. Part of this program, when we planned the bond issue, it was all about preserving class size. As a parent and in the district, it means a lot, and I think that was a major non-negotiable that we talked about. We were able to do quite a few classroom additions, the early childhood, the fitness center, and then we did a lot of upgrades. Of course, we did buses, furniture, and equipment, and again, the big non-negotiable, what the bond program was all about. So that really is like a high level, just kind of where we were headed from. That was the schedule beside it. That schedule actually got a little bit, I'll call it elongated, and it was a little bit lumpy. And what I mean by that, for those of you that were on the board back then, we accelerated quite a bit of construction in the first part. So it was, pedal to the metal right away. We tried to get ahead of some construction, inflation, things of that nature, and then really ran into a cruise control mode over the last couple of years to really even out and understand where some savings could be used, i.e. stadium lights, and I'll get into that in just a moment. So this was the high level in the beginning, the schedule. The team was a wonderful team, great team. You had us as your owner's representative. We were helping at the time Steve Barr and then Jill with Mike and the team and Wanda and so on and so forth. We couldn't have done it without everyone's help. So we were your staff augmentation. Many times when districts do this, they need a lot of help. Your architect was TMP, your construction manager was McCarthy Smith. IDS, Integrated Design Services, was your technology designer. We used Foresight Design as your athletic architect. Your roofing consultant was Structure Tech. Your civil engineer was SME. And we had a commission agent in Horizon. So quite a big, robust team. Everyone played nice in the sandbox, and it was a great performance. So how did we do? Before I even start, I'd like to say no news is good news. Much like referees, we don't want to be pointed out at all. I think sometimes a lot of folks, maybe in the summer they felt the pain, but we really tried to minimize the disruption. And if we were being disruptive, we tried to make it a positive. So when we were doing the classroom additions, we had some kids with hard hats, they got to see some things. But the reality is a lot of you really didn't know that we were burning about $20 million a year of hard construction, and the district didn't miss a beat. And that's what you want. You want a nice, smooth program. No news is good news in our business, and I think we effectively did that. We don't want disruption for the kids because your kids are going through it, and they want to experience the school, not a construction zone. So a couple highlights. 16 classroom additions. We planned 10 through some of that ninja buying and doing different things and effective programming and all kinds of good stuff. We were able to actually do 6 more classrooms than we anticipated. A lot of that was just because, it's a great district. We're growing, and we could add classrooms, and we could keep that classroom size low. That was a big non-negotiable part of the program, was how do we keep classroom size low. We added the Early Childhood Center immediately. It was at 97% capacity. What an awesome thing for the district. We added the new fitness center. We remodeled the auditorium. Obviously, lots of athletic turf improvements, track, tennis, things of that nature, you name it. We thought we did a pretty good job. And then technology enhancements all over the place, but predominantly enhanced wireless network and classroom technology. Lots of buses, lots of classroom furniture that you can imagine that I think sometimes is not as appreciated as much as it could be, how it affects the learning of the kids. And so great work. We replaced approximately 75% of the district roofs. We didn't do what didn't need to be done. Lots and lots of driveways and parking lots. And we did a lot of lighting, LED lighting, and hopefully some of the energy programs, the units that we've put in, the LED lighting, that's also helping contribute to, even though we've added all this additional space, we've done it, effective buying of the energy or the consumption, but also you've got good systems in place. So where are we today? We're running thin. We're down to the last couple dollars. And so you can see the $76.5 million budget. The next column, actual approvals. These are dollars spent. The next column is what we've forecasted or actually committed, meaning we have a PO for it or it's committed and earmarked. And then where we think we're going to end up and what dollars we have left in the hopper. So we're just a shade under $200,000. We always benchmark with Ms. Minnick and do that usually on either a semi-annual or quarterly basis. We're reconciling, just making sure that what we're tracking, what she's tracking, and we're all on top and nothing is getting missed through the cracks, so to speak. So where are we on a go-forward basis? Through some additional savings, it wasn't all spent on classroom additions. We did some LED lighting. The carpet replacement was always kind of planned. The retaining wall was not. Some of the paving and other things were extra things that we were able to squeeze out of this bond issue. So we feel really good. The stadium lighting, I'm glad it's working. That was a big decision that we made about a year ago to go ahead and do. And then we continue, as you move forward, to upgrade furniture, fixtures, equipment, technology, so on and so forth. Overall, I would say, obviously I'm biased, but I live in the district and it's important to me, and I think it was a phenomenal bond issue. Like I said, the best thing I can do is be in the background and no news is good news. And the fact that we rolled through this thing in such an efficient manner, did lots of savings, did more than we ever planned on, and we did it with no disruption to the kids in no instances. Schools open on time. You hear that all the kind of time that something happens at a different program. It didn't happen here. It went off flawlessly, and I'm really proud of that, and I'm proud that how great the bond issue went. And so with that, are there any questions, concerns? I was always reminded, be interesting, be brief, and be seated when you're in a public setting. So with that, questions?
Questions from the board?
A quick one.
Yes, go ahead.
Which auditorium or auditoriums were?
The high school.
High school? Thank
A
you.
lot of it, if you recall, the ceiling, there was a lot of talk about the clouds and things of that, and lighting, that kind of stuff was what was really the improvements there, some carpeting, some miscellaneous equipment, but
And then they did the sound thing in the back too,
Correct.
right? What is that called?
Soundboard.
No,
The orchestra, around the
the
shell.
shell.
the shell.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The shell and the cloud.
Yeah.
So my last one is, with the 185, give or take, that's left, at the end of the day, will there be some last-minute submissions or some things that were on our to-do list if we had extra money?
That's about what you have, and so if there's some small little projects that we could take care of,
Right.
Something this summer, happy to do. A lot of times, some of these dollars are really geared a little bit more towards equipment. So if you need an emergency bus, you need 100,000, there it is. If you need to buy some computers, if you need to buy, Mr. Jagru always needs equipment, so,
Is it worth it, if we don't spend that money, we lose it because it can't get rolled?
No, we would have 5 years from 2017 to spend down the remaining.
Okay, perfect, thank you, good job.
Good. And Mr. Menick, did you have a
Yeah,
question?
similar to how I asked Mr. Bernardi, could you just, at a very high level,
Yep.
if you can just kind of give us an idea on what our return on investment was partnering with your organization?
yeah, we've looked at it and I've kind of went through this with Dr. Matthews. We think it's about 4 times. So what you spent with us, we think we saved you 4 times that through, I'll call it that, I love the comment, the ninja buying and some of the comments or some of the things that we did that have been interesting in this program. We did a lot of design prime work, is what we call it. And so we did a lot of roofing, by way of example. So all of us have homes. How many of you hire a construction manager or a general contractor to put a new roof on your house? You don't. And so what we did is we said we're going to work with Mr. Jagoo and we're going to do the roofing ourselves. And by that we essentially cut out the middleman. And like I said, I think they're a wonderful team. McCarthy Smith does a wonderful job and TMP does a wonderful job. But we went out and got an engineering group and we did the roofs ourselves. And there's lots of real savings. And we did it through procurement. We did it through, as Ms. Murphy knows, we did a lot of advance. So in the beginning of this bond, we really put the pedal to the metal. Why? Because if you were to look at it, the construction cost index has been going up like 5% a year. And we knew that because we were fortunate enough, our firm, we did do some work down at the arena and we helped out and we knew there were some big things coming and we tried to get ahead of that curve. And so by doing all these different things, it's a little bit by a slice here, a slice here, a slice here. It adds up and we think that we're able to save, roughly 4 times what you paid us. And so we feel really good about that.
Thank you.
Other questions, board members? Yes, I do recall the whole, let's get out ahead of it.
Yeah.
And we got ours before a lot of other districts.
We
even.
absolutely did. And we bought out a lot of contracts ahead of time. And that was just good strategic planning on the upfront. We've been working with you folks, meaning the district, since 2013. It's been a real pleasure. You've always had a crack staff that are wonderful to work with. And it's been a pleasure. And I think this is a real great program. And everyone should be proud of it.
Great. Well, thank you for coming and wrapping it up for us. I know that we did have a committee of community members, too, that really played a role in that. And just on behalf of the board, I want to say thank you to them as well. I don't have their names in front of me, but they were, kind of the voice of the community in some of that, not necessarily the planning piece of it, but certainly
Sure.
getting the word out and having a solid understanding so that they could share with their friends and neighbors and be a part of the process, too. So we do really appreciate both you guys coming and being here. And
And I
it
would
was...
be remiss if I didn't mention my partner, Ahmed,
Ahmed.
who would, in the beginning, work so many long hours, he would just stay for the baseball, the football games, the basketball games, whatever, because he was already here. And so I'd be remiss if I didn't say, Med put some hard work into this as well, and so I want to thank him and have him here tonight.
I recall him keeping the minutes for the meetings too. So thanks for your
Thank you.
thanks for your work on that, and certainly the community that supported it, and that we did what we said we were going to do, which I think is a big part of this. So, and then some. So thank you again for giving us kind of that overview as we close out our 2014 bond. We're actually moving into the phase of planning that next bond. So we appreciate you being here to tie a bow on it.
Thank you.
Yes, thank
Good
you very
evening.
much.
Thank you,
too.
Schmecker.
Thank you.
All right, next is a first opportunity for comments from the audience related to agenda items. If there is anyone in the audience, our presenters have already presented, and we have one more person in the a couple more. If anybody would like to address the board at this time? Okay, seeing no one, we will move on to our consent items. These are items that don't necessarily need discussion. I would entertain a motion. Thanks, Mrs. Roney.
I'll make a motion that the Novi Community School Board of Education approve the consent items as presented.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved by Mrs. Roney and supported by Mr. Mena. I will call the question. All those in favor of accepting consent items, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same. Motion carries 5-0. Do we need a break before our action items, or can we move? Okay, fantastic. We'll move into our action items. The first action item is our personnel report. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy, and I will turn to Dr. Kinzer.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. This evening we have 4 resignations and 1 retirement. First, the resignations. Kimberly Chapman, math teacher at Novi Middle School. Jesse Harrison, counselor at Novi Meadows. Shannon Radini, history and science teacher at Novi Middle School. And Kathy Spencer Chapman, science teacher, adult education. And the retirement is Wendy Weinhardt, secretary at Novi Middle School.
All right, before we have any kind of discussion or anything, I would entertain a motion. Mrs. Hood?
I move that the Novi Community School District Board of Education adopts the personnel report recommendations as presented.
All right.
I'll support.
Moved by Mrs. Hood and supported by Mrs. Roney. I don't know if there's any additional information you have for us on these. Interesting that both our K. Chapmans are leaving at the same time. That was just one thing I noted. I know that our
These are more personal.
Do they provide you,
preferences.
when they resign, do they give you, Gary, Dr. Kinzer, a reason for the resignation, or they're not required to?
They're not required to
Yeah.
sometimes.
Okay.
All right. Any additional questions? Okay, I will call the question. All those in favor of accepting personnel recommendations as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Motion carries 5-0. Next item on our agenda is the bid package 10. Oh, I guess this is our final package we're taking action on tonight from our old bond. So I will turn that over to Jill already.
Ms. Minnick, we will turn to you.
All right.
Thank
Are
you.
we? Time out.
Am I on the wrong page?
I don't see
I
that,
think you're
yeah.
on the wrong
Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. How did that happen?
We're on B, policy
policy
updates
updates.
and
Okay,
revisions.
I'm sorry, it kicked me out and I re-signed back in. I must have hit the wrong thing. I apologize.
Good.
You're in the
Good.
wrong
Oh,
meeting.
I'll just go to
You're
this. Policy, we're on policy updates and revisions.
You were
We can skip
seeing
it
if we were
want.
paying attention, but
Do you have a moment of panic? I apologize
All of
for
us
that.
did, actually.
I was looking at my screen instead of my piece of paper and somehow the wrong one was up there, so.
So the policy updates and revisions, Governance and Policy Committee reviewed a variety of policies. Les Galbertson has recommended updates and modifications to our policy manual, and it was released in their update in November of 18. The district was in the process of completing its policy and administrative regulations manual, so we held off until those processes were complete. So additional updates were sent out to the board. We reviewed them at our last meeting, and so we would encourage the board to approve these this evening.
All right, I would entertain a motion. Mr. Smith, excuse me.
I recommend that it is in the best interest of the Novi Community School District, the Board of Education approves the policy updates and revisions as presented.
Support.
It's been moved by Mr. Smith and supported by Mr. Mena. If there's no additional questions, I know we discussed this kind of thorough last time, some of them are just very rote. So I will call the question. All those in favor of accepting the policy updates as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Motion carries 5-0. Next is our Oakland Schools budget. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. Per the Michigan Revised School Code, the Oakland Schools annual budget must be presented to the Oakland County's 28 school districts by May 1st of each year. The district has now received 3 sets of the proposed budget, and we have reviewed this with the board at a previous meeting. And Ms. Minnick has reviewed the budget, Ms. Hood has reviewed the budget, and so we present to you tonight 2 recommendations, and the board is asked to pick one. One is that the board would adopt the attached resolution supporting the ISD budget, and the other is that the board adopts the resolutions disapproving of the ISD budget. So the board is asked to choose one of those recommendations.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion. Mrs. Hood.
Trying to find it. Okay, I move that the Board of Education adopts the attached resolutions supporting the ISD budget.
I'll support.
Thank you, Mrs. Roney. It's been moved by Mrs. Hood and supported by Mrs. Roney. Is there any additional discussion on this? I know the last time, Kathy, you had to, Mrs. Hood, you indicated you'd look this over, and Jill, you're comfortable also with the way that they've gone about setting their budget for the upcoming year. If there is no additional, seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor of approving the Oakland ISD budget, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Motion carries 5-0. Next is our robotics course proposal. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. Mr. John Brickey and Dr. R.J. Weber would like to propose the addition of a robotics course to the required specials rotation in 6th grade beginning this fall of 2019 at Novi Meadows Elementary 6th grade. The course is designed to give every 6th grade student the opportunity to engage in a robotics curriculum that is designed to meet the learning needs of students their age. This course will not replace any existing course. It will be in addition to the courses that are already offered at Novi Meadows. The course provides students with the opportunity to develop numerous skills that will prepare them for future learning and give them a competitive edge. Students will gain problem-solving skills, develop a stronger sense of the power of teamwork, and will continue to develop the critical thinking skills targeted in their K-4 experience. One staff member will require training in order to deliver the instruction for this course. This training will take place over 2 weeks during the summer, and there will be an ongoing support from the vendor throughout the length of the school year. We've discussed this with the board at 2 previous board meetings, April 25th and May 9th. And so tonight we would come to the board seeking approval of this course. There have been some additional questions that have come to the board. We think we've sent out all the questions that we've received to board members. But if there are additional questions this evening or comments, please direct them to Dr. Weber.
All right, well, I would appreciate a motion first, and then if there's additional questions or comments, so. Thank you, Mrs. Hood.
I move that the Novi Community Schools Board of Education approve the 6th grade robotics course proposal as presented.
Is there support?
I'll support.
Thank you, Mrs. Roney. It's been moved by Mrs. Hood and supported by Mrs. Roney. Are there, I did see the additional questions. I know we got an additional document about the safety
Correct.
issue that we got today. I know that's available in board book too. I did see the answers to several of the questions that got asked in advance of the meeting. And certainly appreciate getting those in advance so that we could at least have all the information. Any additional discussion on this? Yes, Mrs. Hood.
Just a brief comment. I am really impressed with this. If you go Google Kamau and school robot, you find a lot of information about what they're doing in Europe already. I do believe, Dr. Weber, we're the launch district, or we're the first district within the U.S. who is working with Kamau to do this.
That is correct. We would be the first school district here in the United States launching it. There's a pretty large event at Oakland Schools, I believe, next week around this as well. It's a general event for the county in Kamau.
I'm sorry, is that available to anybody?
I believe it is.
Oh, is that?
We can get some information out to you.
Yeah, that might be, if people are available. Not that we're not busy this time of year, but it would be nice to get a little bit have a hands-on and see what their kids are going to be doing. So
yeah, and I just wanted to expand a little bit. What I do like about this is that it is giving every kid, every 6th grader, opportunity, exposure to working with robots. And, what can be wrong about that? I think it enhances our STEM portfolio within the district. And one of the other things I read, within Italy, there's the Piedmont district, which is Northwest, which I didn't know existed.
They
but-
have beef there, Piedmontese beef.
I know, but I'd love to take a trip there. But anyway, they're doing a kind of a follow-up. I don't think it's a pilot, but a follow-up program where they're moving beyond just figuring out, or the kids are working with the robots for the function of working with the robots. That they're expanding it to more collaborative between the students and the robots. And they're doing things like using the robots to explore how Leonardo da Vinci designed the crane that he designed, and whether they could reproduce it. I'm kind of extrapolating here, but I just think that this has so many opportunities once we get the first few classes under our belt that we could really expand it. So I think it's exciting.
Great. Are there questions or comments? All right, seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor of approving the sixth grade robotics course as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Motion carries 5-0. Next is our Switzerland field trip.
This is a teacher at Novi High School, Caitlin West, who is a Spanish teacher, is requesting approval for students to travel to Switzerland. It's a 9-day tour with a variety of hands-on experiences through cultural activities. Experts on the summit theme of sports and wellness will also lead discussions and workshops on building resilience, confidence, and the opportunity to build bridges among diverse communities. There will be one chaperone for every 6 students with a maximum of 20 students, and I did ask about if we do get 20, we don't have to add another chaperone, so we're good in that. The trip costs about $4,800 per person plus incidentals and spending. This will cover airfare, hotel, ground transportation, taxes, and most meals. And this is the Global Leadership Summit in Switzerland, July 9th through the 17th of 2020. We're seeking approval tonight so that they can, through an application process, begin to identify who the students are, and they can engage in a variety of fundraising over the next year to
Is it 20 or 21?
20. It's next summer.
Oh, okay, that's right.
All right, I would entertain a motion.
I move that the Novi Community Schools Board of Education approve the Global Leadership Summit to Switzerland, July 9th through July 17th, 2020.
Support.
Been moved by Mr. Smith and supported by Mr. Mena. If there is no additional discussion, I know we talked about this last time. I will call the question. All those in favor of approving the field trip, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next is the orchestra band camp.
That's it, orchestra camp.
Oh, mine says orchestra band camp. Okay, sorry, orchestra camp, which is similar to the band camp.
Yes. Mr. Jim Van Eisinga, the Novi High School orchestra teacher, is requesting approval for the Novi High School Orchestra to travel to the Howell Nature Center this year for their annual camp. This camp has traditionally been held at Novi High School. The new location would allow for structured team building activities and is based on student and parent feedback to have an off-site location. Mr. Van Eisinga and 10 parent chaperones will lead approximately 100 students on this trip. Parents would drop off their students and pick them up at the location. Student cost is $200 to cover food and lodging. So it was recommended that the board approve this field trip for August 23rd to the 25th of 2019.
All right, I would entertain a motion. Thank you, Mrs. Roney.
That the Novi Community School Board of Education approve the Novi High School Orchestra Camp to the Howell Nature Center, August 23rd through 25th, 2019.
It's been moved by Mrs. Roney and supported by Mrs. Hood. There's no additional questions. It is an action item. I will call the question. All those in favor of approving the orchestra trip, camp, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Motion carries 5-0. Next, we are moving on to our information and discussion part of the meeting. Dr. Matthews, I would turn to you for the Chartwell's contract renewal.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. And I will turn to Ms. Minnick. This is a required renewal for Chartwell's, and so Ms. Minnick can explain the rationale and the reason for this.
Thank you. At the June 2nd, 2016 Board of Education meeting, Chartwell's was approved to continue to serve as the district's food service management company for the 16-17 fiscal year. The district has the option to renew the contract annually for up to 4 additional years, which requires annual approval by the Board of Education. The district renewed the contract for 17-18 and again for 18-19. A renewal for the 19-20 fiscal year would be the 3rd renewal. The Michigan Department of Education is also required to approve the renewal before being presented to the Board of Ed. We received MDE approval on May 13th. District administration has been extremely satisfied with the work performed by Chartwells, and especially by Eval Gazzarato, our Director of Nutrition and Food Services. Chartwells and the district administration have agreed to a $300,000 financial guarantee for the 1920 school year. The food service management contract renewal is being presented tonight for information and discussion and recommended for approval at the June 6th meeting. Ms. Gazzarato is with us this evening, and we are happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right. So, this is an annual renewal that is required, and I appreciate the work on your, I know you were trying to get the approval before our last meeting, so we could have our discussion at the last meeting. Thank you again for being here. I know we've seen you, and you presented a little bit about Chartwells. Do other people have questions for either Evol or Jill on this particular item, discussion item? It is a discussion item. I'm not sure how much we need to discuss. I think we're doing good things in our food service. We're working with our kids and trying out some new things, which you shared with us the last time.
Yeah, I like the presentation last time that you gave, and the growing our own food is kind of cool, and some of the changes to the menu the kids seem to really appreciate and like, and the meals of the week that they vote for. It just sounds like that part of our program's working pretty well.
Yeah.
Ms. Gazzarato has brought a lot of student choice and student voice to the food service program.
Did you have a question?
No, I was just going to kind of support what Mr. Smith was just talking about. I was thinking back when the district made the decision to move our dining to Chartwells. It was an outsource. I wasn't on the board at that point, but I was in the audience, and I did get up and say, I don't think it's a good idea. Because so much of the outsourcing, really the people who pay the price are the people who are doing the work. And so, you know, I was, and very often in situations like that, like mergers and outsourcing, all the synergies and efficiencies that are advertised really flow to a few people, and then everyone else really is holding an empty bag. However, the presentation that Eval and I can't remember the other lady who was here.
Smith.
Right. You know, those pictures were taken in Novi, and our kids clearly are benefiting. Chartwells is a gigantic, well, Compass Group is a gigantic corporation, and I think Chartwells does about $5 billion in revenue. It's my estimation from your annual report. And in the Compass Group serves 5 billion meals, over 5 billion meals worldwide. So I asked Mrs. Minnick, how many meals did we serve last year? And we served 626,000 meals in Novi, and that's huge.
And that's up this year as well.
Yeah, so congratulations. I think what I like most about it is, you know, a $5 billion business can afford to bring innovation, and that's what you've done. And when the middle school kids were sitting here, they wanted the custom pizzas, right, that are coming into the high school. So I think you are doing a really good job of bringing value to our kids, making them better consumers of what they eat and what they offer. Anyway, so next week or our next meeting, I certainly intend to say yes and support it. So I'm delighted.
Great, certainly.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Smith, you have a question?
Since you're here, the question I have is about your staff.
Yes.
So just directionally, about how many staff do you have working in the different school buildings?
We have about 40 staff members.
40.
Yes.
And
And then we also have our district chef as well.
okay, how has the turnover been with those 40 people that are interacting with the kids on a daily basis?
It's pretty steady. Our middle school and high school has a little bit more because there's more staff there, but it's average for industry standards.
Okay, that was my concern when we go to outsourcing, is that typically there's a decrease in wage. And, you know, I don't know if that's
Yeah,
accurate with you.
No, we've increased wages actually this year. Jill and I made the decision to increase wages.
Has that helped, or have you seen yet if that's helped with retention?
Yes, it has.
Good, because I think that's a good thing. If we have good people in the positions that see our kids on a regular basis and stop my son from having 4 slices of pizza, which I can see what he buys.
Does he know that?
He doesn't know I can see. All right,
Now
thank
he
you.
does.
Hungry is a growing boy.
Yeah. That might be a parent conversation. Well, we do thank you for being here. Certainly if there are, did I see a hand?
Well,
Well,
yeah,
go
I was
ahead.
just going to comment today. I was at the high school, and it just smelled so good. But the one thing I had to notice was how many kids have these little black boxes, which I assume are yours,
That's
and
what she was doing.
they had like salads or bright veggies with maybe something else in it. And I looked at that and I thought, when I was in high school, when my kids were in high school, which wasn't that long ago, I mean, it was pizza, cookie, shake.
Right.
So, I mean, and then occasionally they had different companies that came in, pizza, Chinese food. This is just wonderful.
Yes, we make
Because-
everything in-house.
Yeah, well, and the kids are learning that bright colored, food is good and it tastes good. So that's wonderful. Kudos.
Yes, and please, next time, stop in and try something.
I will. Yeah, we all needed that invitation. Terrific. Well, we will, this will come back to us. Oh, did you have something too?
Of course I
I'm
have.
sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mr.
No, I just
Renner.
wanted to ask Ms. Minnick about just the contract. I noticed that so I think we're looking to renew this for the 3rd year of a 4-year agreement.
It's a 5-year agreement, so this would be the 4th year, meaning we had the initial year and this is the 3rd
Okay,
renewal.
4 additional years after.
Right.
After. So what happens after the 5th year? Do we or do we renegotiate the contract? Do we go out to bid? What's sort of the process at that point?
The state of Michigan requires that we go back out to bid.
Okay.
It's the bidding process is strictly promulgated, I guess you could say, by the Department of Education, and it's a very rigorous process. But we would need to do that every 5 years.
Okay. So,
It's very rigorous and very structured as well.
Yes, that's a better word to use, structured.
okay.
It is nice to have the same leadership from the organization representing our district, so that's definitely a positive. And as Mr. Smith says earlier, I don't know if folks watching had an opportunity to see your presentation a meeting or two ago, but it was fantastic. You guys are doing things that I had no idea that you guys were engaged in. I thought you were going to come in, feed our kids, leave. At the end of the day, you were done, but it's clearly a lot more than what you're doing, so thank you.
My pleasure.
I would like to express my appreciation to Ms. Gazzarato. She's part of our administrative team. She comes to our administrative meetings. She contributes. She helps solve problems. So we really do appreciate what she has given to the district.
Dr. Matthews, if I may, the Feed the Need is now going into its 5th summer without Evol's help from the very beginning, and her team cooking and preparing fresh meals for our students and kids in the community. I believe 8,600 meals over the summer for students who may not be able to eat regularly over there, and that's another value add that people just don't see. She's never going to brag about it. She's never going to thump her own chest on that. But seeing the program grow, there's no way it could have grown without you. Not a chance. Thank you.
Good. Thank you for bringing that up and including that. And thanks again for being here, Yvonne. This will come back to our next meeting. If board members do think of questions that they want to send, maybe either Jill's way or Dr. Matthews, they can get them to Yvonne to answer if they
Yeah, they
can't.
can reach out to me directly as well.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is our summer tax levy. Dr. Matthews.
This is the highlight of the meeting tonight. And so we will turn to Ms. Minnick to share this great news.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. In order to prepare for the July 1st tax bills, the district must certify the summer tax levy no later than early June. The 2019 taxable value, which is the 1920 fiscal year, of the Novi Community School District currently is $2.4 billion. This is an increase of 4.61% over the previous year's taxable value of about $2.3 billion. Using the district's taxable value as the predominant factor, the 1920 budget will be based upon the millage rates on the attached schedules in your board books. To the homeowner, the district's total millage levy will be 11.2645 mils, which is an increase of 0.1189 mils from fiscal year 18-19. This equates to an increase in property taxes of $11.89 per $100,000 of taxable value. At the November 15th, 2018 board meeting, the Novi Board of Ed resolved to levy 50% of the taxes in the summer and 50% in the winter. The certification of the attached 2019 summer tax levy is presented tonight for information and will be recommended for approval at the June 6th regular meeting.
All right. Are there questions or comments for Ms. Minnick on the tax levy?
It may be it may be too dumb a question.
No, not at all.
But given my rudimentary understanding of how things move, you said that the assessment would go up a tiny bit, 0.1 mils, right?
The levy, the mills,
Yeah.
will go up 0.1189
Okay.
of 1 mil.
But don't we have rising property values?
Yes.
And because of that, shouldn't we see it go the other way?
So the explanation for that small increase is that we actually do have a reduction in the recreation fund millage and the debt service millage, or not the debt service, but the sinking fund millage.
Mm-hmm.
Every year with the hold harmless millage, the state of Michigan forwards to each district, who is a hold harmless district, a reconciliation of the prior year's levy. The hold harmless levy is a complex equation where two of the factors is pupil count and taxable value. So right now, as we're setting next year's hold harmless levy, it is based on our projection of enrollment and the taxable value as stated currently by the county. So what happens at the end of the fiscal year, we then are given an opportunity by the Department of Ed and Department of Treasury to revise those rates based on actual pupil count and actual taxable value. So in recent years, that has been a decrease. This year, it has turned out to be a small increase. And that increase offsets the recreation decrease and the sinking fund decrease to result in that small 0.189 mil increase
it's a
overall.
Tiny, okay. Yeah. And I'd just like to note that I try not to ask out of the blue questions, but when I do,
Sounds like she's got it.
She's got it. All of these three over here are okay.
They're our ninja team. Okay. Yes.
Just out of curiosity then, Ms. Minnick, so when we vote on this next week, it's like previous years, we're just voting on whether we're just going to collect 50% of the levy. That's it. We're not really voting on any mill changes or anything like that, right?
No, all of these millage levies are pretty much set by taxable value and what voters have approved in the past and had the rollbacks.
I just want to make sure that got clarified.
Yes.
Yeah. And we're really, not a lot of districts do it half and half. A lot of them levy it all at the same time, and we are fortunate that we live in a district that we're able to do that, and it's really a service kind of to our taxpayers to
Yes,
be
it
able
is.
to do that. So they support us, we support them. It's a good arrangement. So if you do end up with questions that you want to send Ms. Minnick's way before the next meeting, please feel free to do that.
Yes,
This
please.
will come back to us for approval, so that the city can get the paperwork out to
Right.
the taxpayers. Next is our 6th grade robotics course equipment and services bid package. Dr. Matthews.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. On May 14, 2019, the bids for the 6th grade robotics course equipment and service were opened and publicly read. The related course proposal and curriculum was presented to the Board of Education at its regular meetings on April 25th and May 9th and was recommended for approval this evening, which the board has done. The district received one bid in response to the RFP for this purchase, which will be funded from the 2014 capital projects bond funds. The bid summary is attached. It is recommended that the board award the purchase to Kamal LLC in the amount of $99,765. The bid for equipment and service is presented tonight for information and discussion with awarding of the bid at the June 6, 2019 board meeting. So this recommendation will come back to the board on our June 6th meeting for approval so that we can have the robots in place before the course begins in the fall.
Questions on the bid pack? Mrs. Hood?
I was going to ask whether we could use bond funds for this, but clearly it's answered. And so is this going to meet Mr. Smith's need to use that $185,000 extra?
I will turn to Ms. Minnick.
This cost has been incorporated into the presentation by Plant Moran Crescent.
Oh, so we have another 185. Okay, I like
Above
that.
and beyond this.
Thank
Okay.
you, thank you.
Good to know. Other questions?
Yeah, so the equipment, so we have an equipment and service line for $70,000. How many robots is that? Those
Six.
are, those are 6 robots.
Yes.
So equipment and service, but then we're also paying an additional service support agreement on top of that?
Yes, the $13,925 is for the first year of support.
And then after that, it decreases, right? That was in part of our other presentation.
So in our further discussions with Kamau, we determined that after that first year of implementation, our needs may not be as great. The needs may change based on the curriculum and implementation. And so we want that opportunity, and so does Kamau, to negotiate how we would move forward with that second year of support and third and fourth and so on.
Just a quick question. So if we didn't, let's say we decided that we don't want the optional service here, what service is included in the 70,000?
Bug fixes, software updates, that's a component of it.
Okay, so that's what the service part is there. And then
Yes.
then the tablets are under options, but wouldn't they actually be a requirement in order to use a robot?
Well,
What other options would we have?
there is a way to use PCs, but it's cumbersome. So we're interested in the tablets because they're more easily used by the students and able to better fit into the workspace of the
Okay,
kids.
makes sense.
Other questions, Ms. Roney?
The year one service support agreement, okay, if we get the software updates with the, the robotic arm and the services, what does that additional service support agreement, what more does that get us?
The support does also pertain to some of the implementation and additional hours to allow us to get accustomed and understanding the robots and the implementation in the classroom.
So that's not included in the 70,000. That would be in the additional support.
Right. The 70,000 is strictly for the robots and the componentries with the robots.
Oh, okay. So that doesn't include the software updates. That's in the service support agreement.
Correct.
And another part of that is the training that our staff will receive. So they're bringing somebody over this summer for I believe 4 weeks total, but providing 2 weeks of training for our staff. And any board member wants to stop into that once we get it set up, you're welcome to come. I actually think I'm going to take some time to get some basic training in there. I mean, you know your way around there really well, Ms. Roney. So, but you're welcome to come by.
It's Kamau, so
It's okay. I've got a FANUC update. We're not gonna be Jets and Sharks here tonight.
no,
It'll be
it's
all
just
right.
it's different. So
Yep.
I probably wouldn't.
It's still a robot.
Okay, so any other additional, Mr. Murphy?
Just one quick question. The fact that we only got one bid was no surprise, correct?
That's right, because it's really inherent in the curriculum that in the course proposal that we want to move forward with.
Okay.
But state law requires that we bid.
Other questions? Okay, so this will return to our agenda at the next meeting if other questions arise in the meantime. Again, just shoot them Ms. Minnick or Dr. Matthews' way, and or Mr. Weber's if it's curricular, and we'll get those out to the entire board and answer. Next is our second opportunity for comments from the audience. This is an opportunity to talk about anything that is within our jurisdiction. We would just ask that you fill out a green card, come to the podium, and Mr. Mena will time you and make sure you stay under 5 minutes. Anybody? Okay, seeing no takers. I guess that's a good thing. There was a time when I've been on the board where we had multiple speakers, and it's usually when we're not doing maybe things that are favored. So I guess we should take this as a good sign that we're doing the right stuff. So we will move on to our superintendent's report. Dr. Matthews.
My report is very brief. Graduation will be a week from Saturday at Eastern Michigan University. Board members and administrative team will be there to congratulate our over 500 graduates, and it's a great evening. My report is brief this evening because we have a work session to talk about negotiations after this.
All right. And next, our administrative reports.
Thank you. I, as well, don't have much of a report. I think the 7 reports that were presented this evening gives you an illustration of what I've been working on.
Yeah. Well, thank you. We appreciate that. And Dr. Kinzer.
I just have two things. They're both recognition. I want to congratulate Sandy Brazel. She was recognized by the Michigan Education Association with the Paul Blewett Friend of Education Award. This monetary award honors individuals who in the previous year did the most to improve the lives of teachers, to further the goals of the MEA, or to further the cause of public education. And then second, Joellen Steinhebel, parapro at Orchard Hills, was recognized by Oakland Schools as the Oakland School Support Staff Person of the Year.
Yeah, fantastic.
Great.
More congratulations. There we go. And Dr. Weber.
Yes. I'd like to just mention the incubator hatch, but perhaps leave that for Ms. Hood or yourself to speak about because you were there in your impressions of that on Tuesday. Tomorrow I'll be doing my 10th superintendent or assistant superintendent sub day. I'll be in Mr. Polanski's class teaching pre-calculus. So, Mr. Smith, you might be my guy, right? Something about numbers and abacuses. And
No, but my daughter told me that you were going to be subbing, so she's going to be spying on you.
Return on investment, all that stuff. I actually met with Mr. Polanski today, and he provided a lesson that, yes, even old, crusty social studies guy could teach. And I was at the middle school doing the same yesterday for 7th grade science, and I believe Miss Ruskin actually was the one who bought Dr. Ruskin bought the what is it, raffle ticket from NEF. So this is what Dr. Matthews and I do is really a support to the Nova Educational Foundation. But I've had a ton of fun doing it, but I will say I love our kindergarten teachers. I love them. I don't know if I can ever do that again. It is so hard.
It's hard on the knees.
It is so hard. And then, we just got this just came across, and this is FANUC America. A robotics manufacturer has once again decided to offer an incredible summer externship opportunity for STEM-related teachers. So they are offering a 3-week externship comprised of 2 weeks of FANUC training followed by a 3rd week of field experience. And that's a $3,000 stipend for any of our staff members, so we're going to make sure we push that out at our staff because really the final thing I'd like to say is to thank the Board of Education for supporting our venture in 6th grade robotics in Kamau. This is how we provide opportunities for each of our kids. We talk about inequity of opportunity. The fact that each 6th grader will now have the ability to go in and have 35 sessions to learn coding and robotics as a 6th grader. And then what do we do to scale that up 6 through 12? What does it start to look like 7th through 12th grade? And so when we see things and opportunities like this from FANUC, in that, well, our hope is that we can get teachers to participate in pieces like this as we adapt to the needs of our kids going forward. And so imagine each 6th grader coming through with that opportunity, and then maybe a large number of those wanting to do more with it. And it's incumbent upon us to think for the future and to think ahead. And I'd like to thank each of you for supporting it. Also, I need to thank Melissa Matson and Jill Minnick, Mark Anderson and Daryl Dubé. Those 2 gentlemen are from Kamau. Of course, you know Jill and Melissa. And the amount of questions you all answered, the amount of detail you dug into, just would have made my head explode. So I can't thank you enough for doing what you guys did to help us get here. So thanks.
But I have to thank Melissa.
Yeah. She's pretty amazing. All right, thank you.
All right, next are our committee reports. I know Dr. Ruskin couldn't be here, but I think you have a report to read from the legislative committee.
Dr. Ruskin was going to do this. She was going to send me a summary, but she didn't. But I will paraphrase what I expected her to say, which was we met, Mr. Smith, Dr. Ruskin, and I, with Dr. Matthews, and we just set our intentions, so we'll have probably monthly meetings. I will share the legislative updates that I get from Oakland Schools, and then we all get from MASB. We'll review those. There will be periodically resolutions. We've always gotten resolutions, and whether we want to ask the board to approve them or not. Anyway, so we'll have monthly meetings scheduled. Mr. Smith, did I miss anything? Okay.
Okay, so we can look forward to a regular update from the legislative committee.
Yep, thank
Terrific. You. Okay, and the superintendent contract committee, I'm calling it the super committee because we're also going to be discussing the evaluation tools. So it's really superintendent contract and Evaluation Tool Committee, which is just a little bit too long. So the super committee is composed of Mrs. Roney, Mr. Cook, and myself, and we met on the 13th and again this past Monday, just to kind of discuss a few things with Dr. Matthews in terms of his contract. I know we are in the second year of his contract, and he sent the information to the board that there's the vote we're supposed to take on renewing, so we're having some conversations around that, what that looks like for the future, and also some potential changes that Dr. Matthews has suggested to make his contract a little more consistent with what we do with some of the other administrators and stuff. So those notes and minutes and stuff are now, well, the ones from the 13th are currently in board book. And so if board members have, after reading that, have questions or comments that they want to run my way, we don't right now have another meeting set up, but potentially we would have one in the near future. Certainly if I get a million questions, we would set up another meeting. So, but feel free to look at that. Like I said, we've looked at a lot of information, and I tried to put that in the notes, and you're welcome to give me a call if you have questions.
Were they, I was looking for them, were they
No, they weren't there yet. Sheila had released them today. She thought that they were in there, but they were in a different spot. So they are in there now, under the meeting. So if you go to the meeting, then you should be able to see both the minutes and, I forget what it's called under there, but the notes. Extras. Right there. Okay? All right, so we will move on to board communication. Anybody? I know there's a lot that's been going on. Mrs. Roney, you want to get started?
Well, last night I went to the Frog Force banquet, and they gave us a little plaque and thanked us for for our support of them. So that was kind of neat, and we have a T-shirt here too as well. It was just wonderful watching these kids, get up there and talk about it, and the commitment they have. They really don't have any off season. It's go, 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 and then the commitment of the parents as well and the sponsors. So that was wonderful. It was just fun to be a part of it and watch these kids just beam and smile and talk about their competitions and what they're going to do next year. So, boy, it just really sucked me in. Now I want to go and, I'm telling my husband, hey, honey, you should go help them out.
We'll be a mentor, absolutely.
Yeah, so that was real fun. The other thing is, I think it was Sunday, I was at a fundraiser, and I had talked to a legislative person, and he was telling me that it's pretty much going to pass. They say the commitment to get Algebra 2 away from the requirement to graduate.
Wow.
So my personal, I think that would be awesome because you could use it for finance or other, math classes. So,
well, we'll be excited to hear an update. Terrific. Thank you.
I saw you and Dr. Weber at the varsity girls soccer game last week. It was their last home game, and they are amazing. I know they played tonight at 6 o'clock.
And they won 4-0.
yes.
Had got one update, so I wouldn't be surprised if we have another state champion. I was there for seniors night, and they're really good.
Yeah, you're number one in the nation right now. So
I can
fantastic.
see why.
Yeah, way to rep our school in robotics and
Right.
soccer and all things. Other board members, Mr. Mena?
Yeah, unfortunately, I won't be at the Senior Honors Night next week. I have volunteered to give our middle school track and field athletes an opportunity to participate at the high school. So we're going ahead and use all of our new equipment that we recently invested in for track and field, as well as the video scoreboard, to kind of give them a good flavor of what it's like to do track and field at the high school. So, unfortunately, I committed to that a while ago, and it caused a conflict. So,
Okay, we'll appreciate you knowing about that. It'll be exciting for our middle schoolers. And do you want to?
I will. Yes.
Okay.
So, Mrs. Murphy and I were at the incubator hatch follow-up end of year celebration, and I was thinking in my mind tonight that innovation is kind of in my brain when we talk about our food service and our robotics classes and our incubator. And So the kids, before the presentation started, the kids had their, the class is two pieces. I think most people are well aware of our socks and the Quest brand. But the second half of the class, the kids each did their, what did they call
Passion
it?
projects.
Passion
Yeah,
projects.
their own individual project.
Yes, and boy, they had them set up in the that middle center of the high school, and I talked to probably a half a dozen kids, and each one was passionate, was engaged, and really ready. Either they've had a lot of activity, or they're ready to move forward with it. They've got action plans, and it was just really energizing. So Mrs. Roney was talking about the Frog Force kids. It's energizing. The high schoolers have just embraced this, and I think it speaks to our administration, the innovative opportunities that we are bringing to our kids up and down K through 12 is really substantial. And I congratulate Melissa Matson and the team who supports her, Dr. Weber.
Yes. She is a force of nature.
Yes.
Yeah, so some of these projects, kids, going for patents on things that they've
I was ready to invest. I will tell you, I told
Yeah,
my
I mean,
girl,
Bobby,
if
did
you
you have
get
a chance
that
to talk to
going,
a couple of them? They're just
I talked to probably,
blow your
I
mind.
think they started packing up while I was still talking to some of the kids. So I felt a little bad about that, but quite honestly, like some of those kids, like I can see them on Shark Tank, and I was like ready to go, okay, we need our little Shark Tank here, because some of these, like one of my kids, I went home to, Rob, this kid has this fitness thing. He got a ball, and he filled it with the stuff that cools really, and it will last 8 hours because it's a steel ball, and you can use it as a roller. So if you're as a tennis player that is getting older, I'm like, I would put that in my tennis bag and carry that around with me.
So,
I mean, it
Bobby,
was,
that particular story and that student, that boy, young man, believes, and his family believes, the reason that he tipped over and got into Harvard was that. Because that particular piece is what he did some supporting documentation with, and he was being held. And in that particular thing was the thing that tipped him into gaining admittance there.
I did not know he was going to Harvard.
So
He didn't share that with me.
just seeing the kids drive that through the year, seeing the looks on your faces, frankly, when you were hearing them, and knowing that we backed off and allowed our students to show us what they had and really give them a 180-day experience to just go, right? And here's what they learned. Some of the teachers said, some of the projects were a little disappointing. And the point is, though, that's life. Like, we don't all hit home runs. The kids need to see, and I think it was good for some of the students to see their students next to them who really nailed it, maybe, and they realized that they could have done even a little bit better. It was real.
And I think that the truth is the learning was in the process. I
Yes.
mean, there was one girl that
Yes.
was kind of trying to change legislation around the rape culture, and
Yes.
how do we direct that, and just like the steps that she took and the thought process that she used. So just a lot of very different ideas. I was also at the military signing at the high school, which was a really neat way to honor those kids that are entering the service, which we hadn't ever done it like that before. They had it during a lunch hour, and it was they had one of the girls sing the national anthem, and the kids that were in the cafeteria, because lunch was going on, all got very quiet for the most part, very quiet and respectful during that time, and a lot of them came over and actually watched the ceremony and were cheering on their friends that have decided to enlist, and there were there seven of
That's
them?
amazing.
So there's 7 of them, and one of them is going to West Point, which I'm sure we'll hear about. I'm guessing that at the senior honors night he'll get his formal appointment, but he was one of the kids also at Incubator that has done a really interesting project. So it was.
And his invention was on mental health.
Yes. Yeah, it was some really, really cool stuff. And I managed to make it over to see our support person of the year get her picture taken really with a lot of the kids that and they were thrilled to be a part of the ceremony really with her, and just she loves her job and loves what she's doing, and
Awesome.
it was a very sweet moment, and just kudos that we've continue to have the great hires that they continue to be recognized, because we know that as much as you get a paycheck, it's always really nice when somebody acknowledges that you add value. And that is really, I think, what that moment was. So anyways, it was a great event. So lots still going on. We've got the senior honors, and then, and we will get instructions for those of you who are new. Well, Danielle's not here, but you will get, you have parking there. It's it's special parking. Hopefully, they'll have somebody monitoring it, because last year they didn't, and a lot of people parked there that shouldn't, but I would plan to leave early. And I know that sometimes we've ridden with each other. I'm going to be in Ann Arbor all day, so I'm going to get there really early. But just so you know, there usually is some special parking for you. So we'll get information about that, and I suggest you save it, because there is a special pass in the packet that you get online that you'll have to print that says that you're a special person for your parking. They used to give us a hard copy, but now they...
Although all of you are always special people.
Yes, we're all special people, but, so just so that you know about that.
I just tell them I'm Steve Matthews. That's the end.
All right, so that's the end of that. If there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Are we motioning to adjourn or to move into executive session?
We could motion to go
Well,
right
we-
into executive
We
session.
could, we do have a work session, though, that we've posted.
So
we
we probably
really
need to
should
adjourn
adjourn
and then
this one and
open
then
that
open that one.
I move that we adjourn.
It's been moved by Mr. Smith
I support.
and supported by Mrs. Hood. All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Motion carries 5-0. We will take, it is 8:47, we will be back here at 8:55. And we'll resume with a work session that will not be broadcast. It's, will be a brief.
Amy's out of town, what do you think this will be?
Half an hour.
Shouldn't be more than half an hour. Depends on